We begin from India, where a deadly wave of coronavirus is crippling the medical system. Officials posted a record daily figure of over 380,000 cases on Friday. Authorities also reported nearly 3,500 deaths. Hospitals and crematoriums are being overwhelmed in the country, which has the world's second largest population. Medicines and oxygen are in short supply. New Delhi says about 40 countries have offered supplies such as rapid testing kits and oxygen cylinders. In addition to cargoes from Britain and Russia, the first shipment from the U.S. arrived on Friday. Japan wants to help as well. It plans to offer equipment, including hundreds of ventilators and oxygen concentrators. Moving on to Japan, where authorities are struggling with a surge in coronavirus cases, even after a state of emergency has been put in place. The governor of Osaka has suggested he'll consider extending the emergency measures, which are due to expire mid-May. The Western Prefecture has been Japan's largest hotspot. More than 1,000 new cases were confirmed on Friday. The daily figure has remained high 6 days after the state of emergency was imposed. There's a shortage of hospital beds. Over 10,000 patients are now being kept waiting in their homes. Over the past 2 months, 12 patients have died at home while waiting to go to the hospital.
The condition of many patients is becoming worse, and some of them are dying at home. I am concerned that the healthcare system in Osaka is on the brink of collapsing.
Governor Yoshimura Hirofumi told reporters that he takes the current situation very seriously. He said he'll consult a panel of experts after analyzing data from the week-long holiday that ends next Wednesday. He suggested that he may ask the central government to extend the emergency declaration over his prefecture. The government has declared a state of emergency over Osaka, Tokyo, and 2 other prefectures through May 11th. Across the country, officials reported more than 4,600 infections on Friday, including about 700 cases in Tokyo. Nearly 1,000 patients are currently in serious condition. The first shipment of the coronavirus vaccine developed by U.S. biotechnology firm Moderna has arrived in Japan. The government wants to start administering the vaccine as soon as the health ministry completes its approval process. A plane carrying the vials in 6 refrigerated containers arrived at Kansai Airport in western Japan from Belgium. The vaccine will be stored in a warehouse while it awaits approval. The government has signed a contract with Moderna for 50 million doses, or enough to vaccinate 25 million people by September. The health minister says the ministry will quickly work on the domestic procedure.
If all conditions are met, the vaccine could be approved as early as May.
Health officials want to use the vaccine at 2 large inoculation sites it plans to open in Tokyo and Osaka. Japan's ambassador to Canada has called on the country to strengthen measures to combat hate crimes. The request comes against a backdrop of increasing violence against people of Asian descent, mainly in Western Canada. Kawamura Yasuhisa spoke with the Canadian minister responsible for human rights, Stephen Guilbeault, on Thursday. The ambassador asked Guilbeault to ensure the safety of Japanese nationals in Canada. The minister said the government will continue to work to eradicate hate crimes. A study conducted by a group of Chinese Canadians found that there were more than 1,100 cases of violence or discrimination against people of Asian descent in the year up to the end of February. It says more than 80% of the cases targeted people from East Asia, including China and Japan. A court in Hong Kong has convicted 4 pro-democracy activists charged with taking part in an unauthorized assembly commemorating victims of the 1989 Tiananmen Square crackdown. The 4, including prominent activist Joshua Wong, pleaded guilty to the charges at their trial on Friday. Their sentencing is scheduled for next Thursday. Wong, who is already imprisoned after being convicted of 2 separate charges, may face extra prison terms. They are among 24 people facing charges from August last year after participating in the June 4th vigil. Hong Kong's police refused permission for the memorial ceremony amid the pandemic. The annual vigil had been held even after Hong Kong was returned from the UK to China in 1997. The event had been seen as a sign that freedom of assembly still existed there. Joe Biden marked his 100th day as U.S. president on Thursday. He touted his plan to rebuild the middle class by raising taxes on the wealthy and big business.
We not only have to invest in America, we need to invest in our families. We need to invest in things our families care about and need the most. It's about time the very wealthy and corporations start paying their fair share.
Biden delivered his pitch at a rally in Georgia, a hotly contested state he won in last year's election. He also highlighted his achievements so far as president, including measures to fight the coronavirus pandemic. A researcher at a Washington think tank says Biden must reach across the aisle to the Republicans from now on.
President Biden is fairly popular. He has a 54% approval rating. But a lot of that is still kind of a honeymoon effect. A big thing that will define Joe Biden's presidency is whether he can figure out how to work with Republicans. And so far, he really hasn't made such a strong effort to do that.
Biden made his first speech to a joint session of Congress on Wednesday. He outlined a push to invest $4 trillion in infrastructure and support for children and families. But Republicans have dismissed the plan, calling it a massive shopping list. A White House spokesperson says U.S. troops have begun the process of withdrawing from Afghanistan. The Biden administration plans to pull U.S. forces out of the country by September 11th. Deputy Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters on Thursday that additional military assets will be deployed to support a safe and deliberate withdrawal. She said that although these actions will initially increase force levels, U.S. troops will fully withdraw on schedule. Biden, in his speech to Congress, said that even as the U.S. withdraws, it'll remain vigilant against threats to the country wherever they come from. He said Al-Qaeda and Islamic State militants are in the Middle East, Africa, and beyond.
Israeli officials say 45 people were crushed to death at a crowded religious celebration in the north. In South Korea, an activist group says it illegally launched balloons holding small books and money to North Korea. The books criticized North Korea's government. In Hong Kong, Joshua Wong and 3 other activists admit to a court to taking part in an unlawful demonstration last year. All 4 admitted their involvement. And the first U.S. emergency aid arrives in India, as hospitals in some cities struggle to treat COVID-19 cases.
The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has described Thursday night's crush that killed at least 45 people at a crowded religious festival as one of the country's worst disasters. Several states in India say they've run out of coronavirus vaccines as the second wave of the pandemic runs out of control. Police in the capital, Delhi, have asked local authorities to identify more sites for COVID-19 cremations. Brazil has become the second country in the world to record more than 400,000 COVID deaths after the United States. The World Health Organization says countries should share vaccines with Brazil to help the global fight against the pandemic. Leading British teams and players from sports including football, cricket and rugby have begun a 4-day boycott of social media. They want platforms to take stronger action against people who post racist and sexist comments.